Azalea, moss, oh my. Tippy top of the morning to you laddies, this is me Waddles and welcome back to the Minecraft Guide. In today's episode, we'll be adding a brand new beautiful moss farm to our world. Inside of Minecraft nowadays, moss farms are great for many different things. Thing number one, of course, is going to be that sweet azalea bush. Of course, we could take that azalea bush and grow it into a tree of its own, or we could take this azalea bush and terraform, decorate with this thing. Because of its sheer beauty and unique model, having infinite supply of azalea bush is one of my favorite things inside of a world. Also, I guess if you want to talk about a tree farm, this thing isn't really bad. It doesn't usually require very much bone meal to actually fully grow up. On the other hand, we got the trusty old-fashioned moss block. The moss block, little did you know, you could actually use it to make mossy cobblestone and the other mossy things. But that's not all. Of course, you could use the moss block in terraforming, decorating as well, or if you wanted to, you could actually compost this block as well. And it raises the composter pretty quickly. There are also some other pretty cool, useful uses for the moss block, including moss mining. Something Pixel showed off in his guide series relatively recently. It's pretty beautiful. Using a little bit of the moss that we picked up way earlier on in our adventures, we could actually make a pretty beautiful farm that'll get us a whole ton of different moss-related things. The only thing is location. I'm proud to say it's so proud, but as of last episode, the base is filling in faster and more than ever before. I definitely needed to adjust those cherry trees. They're a little bit short for my liking, but the base is getting so full over here. I think if we want to build a brand new large build today, well, if I want to do that, I'm gonna have to go off to a brand new land that has never been landed, conquered, or built on before. Sheep friend. This is gonna be a little bit awkward, but I need you to move. Hello, this is me, Waddles from the past. I would like to quickly and sincerely remind you that leaving a like on these episodes right here lets me know that you like them and you want the series to continue forever. And also, it helps them out with YouTube huge time. Please consider it. Oh no, this is the best surprise of the morning. The absolute best surprise of the morning is the iron farm is clogged up. The hoppers are so full back there that it's backed up. Oh, it's a beautiful sight. I don't have time for this, but it's a beautiful sight. I'm so happy, ecstatic. I don't even know what to say. Sheep farm, beef farm, sheep farm, beef farm. Definitely one of the farms on the to-do list of all time. We'll get around to it sooner or later, hopefully sooner. I would love to get my hands on some sweet netherite or at least some colorful building blocks, but for now, you reside right there. Go ahead and, I guess, why not? Make sweet love, make one more baby. But other than that, just hang tight. So for today's big beautiful build, I was thinking that maybe we could position this build up here on the ledge on this hill. Maybe what I could do is build this up a little bit, make a proper path so you could walk around up here, and most importantly, add a factory to the world. The very first one of its kind, truly. Ayo, and it sounds like they're inside of their house right now, so Silk Touch, you come with me. Right this way, bees, you come with me. I've got the most perfect spot of all time for you. At least I think that's a good spot. So for today's build, I've got a pretty strong vision. You see, I'm envisioning nothing short of a super duper industrial grade tier moss making machine, and all out tight. Now with this build being the hardcore machine that I hope to turn it into, I feel like there's only one route that I would be able to take this build realistically, and of course, that's going to be a factory. For the very first time ever, I'd like to try and build a modern style build inside of this world. Now, a factory, a modern style build, it's not exactly in my normal wheelhouse when it comes to Minecraft builds, if you know what I'm saying. So I did a little bit of research in between episodes to come up with some inspiration. I quite perfectly stumbled upon this beautiful build, this beautiful looking build right here that I love, that was inspired by none other than the master builder himself, Mr. B00. So for today's build, if I could build anything half as good as even this thing right here, exterior-wise, then I will consider that a success. And so, for the inspiration behind at least the start of today's build, that's kind of where I'm at and what I'm thinking. For the base of our beautiful moss farm, what I think I would like to try and start out here with is a simple combination, a little bit of a varied pattern of maybe moss and terracotta. Mud and terracotta. You know, after all of these years of being on this earth, and speaking a language, doing my thing, you know, making Minecraft videos, you would think that I would have the English language down to a little bit of a T, but no. I guess I need to go back to my childhood days of speech therapy and try and re-crack that out a little bit. True story. I get there one day. Anyways, I want to put some mud on this build. The main reason I want to put mud on this build is, listen. Oh, that's one of my favorite place sounds of all time. It sounds so good. The secondary reason I would like to put some mud on today's build is I think it could look really, really good and really factory-y. I was envisioning maybe a front door, the main door right there. Then I'm gonna have like maybe a section of windows. We'll probably hopefully end up with a large majority of the machine just like on this floor. So I could have windows to look out at the rest of the base. That could be pretty cool. So we start things out with a varied and textured wall. You know, something looking a little bit like this. It'll break up the terracotta, make it look good. I might need to come back in here and add a little bit more mud looking at it now, like especially down there, but so far so good. After that, I'd like to move a little bit higher up on the build and do something different. So definitely spruce wood on the side of the build. I think that could look really, really good. After that, because I paid attention to my dimensions here, I should be able to do some sections of 3 in here with a little bit of spruce. Being a factory and all, I need to keep this build very, very square and very, very samey. A common theme with the traditional American factory you see is like flat out complete kittens. Wait, no, not kittens. The exact opposite of it, actually. Flat out repetitiveness and misery. Hey, wait, factory is another word for prison, right? Oh, it's adorable. I can't believe it. It's adorable. There's a kitten right here. It spawned because of the iron farm. 100% a kitten. This is adorable. I don't think I really have the means, the ways, the fish to be able to collect you. So I'll let you wander off into the sunset and then you'll just wait at the sunset, right? You won't go anywhere, right? No. It never would. Never. Iron bars on the face of this factory too. Maybe I'll do like glass panes down there, make it nice and happy. And you know, long story short, before too long, end up with a build that looks really, really cool and has a solid build palette. Terracotta and mud down low, granite and spruce up high. And maybe even more mud up top too. Oh, and not because I'm being lazy or nothing like that. No. Because it's finally, solidly time. I always dreamed of. As soon as I build this chest up all the way, which is exactly what happened mere moments ago. Well, as soon as I build that chest up all the way, I always wanted to come back over to the iron farm and, of course, replace the mud with none other than iron. Alrighty, so, little problem. I was taking a look at the build. Like, I took a step back and just took a look at it. And the top, it looks nice. Like, I like the design idea, but it's really, like, almost too repetitive. Like, line, then a line, then a line, then a line. You know, like a bunch of lines. But I think I have an idea. The only problem is, for this idea, I'm gonna need clay. And for clay, that's about all that I'm looking at. I don't have very much. Instead, alternatively here, I might need to pull out a little bit of a build trick of mine using pointed dripstone. So for now, temporarily, this is something that I might as well set up over here inside of the factory. And then by the time we're done with this build today, I'll go ahead and pull this out. But check this out. If I go ahead and put dirt over a block with pointed dripstone on it and then turn that dirt to mud, if I were theoretically to give this thing a little bit of time, then eventually that mud's gonna convert over into a clay block. I could then go ahead and mine that clay block, get 4 clay ball every single time, and then smelt those clay ball up and turn them into bricks. And then I could put bricks all over this thing randomly. And it might look kind of beautiful. I guess the only way to find out is going to be to try it out. So I'm going to have to wait for that stuff to smelt up. Now over here on the interior of the build today, I'm going to have to clear out quite a bit of dirt, which kind of works out. I'm going to be able to turn this dirt into even more mud for today's build. The other thing that I'm going to need to do, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and get it in right now, is a proper floor. So I could maybe like make the mud on the floor and not worry about grass taking it over and, you know, making the whole process more annoying. Also, Frodor. I hate to say it, I really do, but looking at the dimensions of this build and where it's going to end up, hey Clay, where it's going to end up going, Frodor is going to be fully inside of this build, which is a huge problem. I think what I need to do is build this shack back a little bit and try and get the villager to move. I can't have him inside of our farm. Absolutely not. I mean, hey, at least on the bright side, the villager still gets to live and do his thing. He just has to move even farther away from civilization. Please go away. Frodor. I love you. And would you take a look at that? Just a matter of time later, and sure enough, a better and more beautiful shack than ever before. Might even be a little bit bigger. Enjoy, buddy. A little bit of time later, and it's go time. And for this build, how we're going to set it up today, we're going to need a total of 2 dispensers, 1 observer, and then I think what I like to do is get a little bit of fancy in here and maybe do a redstone lamp as well. So we'll bring one of those. We also, of course, are going to need moss blocks, wonderful moss, to actually kick this thing off. The beautiful thing about moss is you can turn a lot of different things into moss, so you could technically start with just 1 block, but we'll need some moss. Alrighty then, so the factory, it's filling in so nicely. The area, the base is like really starting to get full over here. I love it. Every single episode we add a new building to the base. I feel like I probably end up saying the same thing. You go back and check it, make a compilation or something, but I love it. I love seeing a new build in here. I also started, just barely, but started to like detail this wall up a little bit and get it good looking. Excuse me, villagers, can you quiet down? Moving a little bit higher up into the farm, I do have one problem though, and that is bricks. I'm running out of bricks. Like, this whole operation is nice and it works. Like, it's good, and I'm glad that it exists in the game, but it is also painfully slow. I finished this front wall, and that's all looking good. The side wall, I figured I would come in with some machiny looking basalt bits. I think that's cool. And then the back wall, it's like fully untouched. So I'm gonna need to go ahead and continue to collect up a little bit of clay before I can finish everything up there. I actually decided, just to make this whole operation be a little bit more streamlined, to double it up. But man, it makes me really realize I should make a clay factory, a farm soon. Definitely on the to-do list. No, how could I? Of course. Oh, wow, that's filling up really quick. Oh, that's beautiful. How could I? I also need hoppers for this build. We're gonna configure it with 6. 3, 2, 1, baby, it's farm time. So knowing that I want this whole machine to fit into the inside of the build, I'm going to start by placing some dispensers a little bit off of the wall. After that, I go ahead and remove these temporary blocks that don't need them. Now over inside of the furnaces, inside of this room, I've slowly but surely been smelting up stone to make this machiny looking block. I want this moss farm, the machine, to have like the aesthetic of a proper machine as well. Now on the ground, in front of the dispensers, I'm going to come in here with some moss blocks. This is where I'm going to actually be like growing everything that I'm trying to farm and collect in the moss farm today. So over here, I've got 4 rows of moss blocks and it's about 6 blocks long. That should be good enough. I've got a double chest over there. This is going to be my item pickup chest. Going into the double chest, I'm going to go ahead and place a row of hoppers. That means a total of 6 right there. Now along the side, I'm going to go ahead and continue these blocks right here. If I don't continue these blocks, water will eventually spill out everywhere. It'll be terrible and tragic. Then in front of the farm, I've got options. I could go ahead and solid it up, and sure, it'll work, but I think I like the idea of glass. Glass in here would make the aesthetic like soar through the ceiling, the open skylight of a ceiling. At this point, I'm thinking one thing. The best, the only type of glass that will match the machine perfectly that we make for the very first time ever, apparently, is going to be light gray glass. While I'm up and at it over here, though, I might as well go ahead and get 2 water buckets. To actually power it, kind of, but more so to actually harvest everything, we're going to need a water bucket inside of each dispenser. Now over here in front of the hoppers, so the hoppers can still actually pick things up, but the water stays contained, we'll go ahead and put a row of glass right there. That'll allow me to see into the farm, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Now over here, inside of the other furnace, I've slowly but surely been smelting up a little bit of stone. For this farm, to be able to like reach it and use it a little bit easier, you're probably going to want to create a way up so you can walk up here and like look down on the farm. Now next up, before we can do anything else with the farm, it's time we go ahead and start wiring this little machine up. To wire this machine up, we're going to create a small little trench behind the farm. I think to maybe like make sure it's nice and safe forever, I'll go ahead and swap those wall blocks out with like a different redstone-y block. That way, if I'm ever digging around over here in the future, don't know if I will be, but if I am, I'll see these blocks and I won't mess anything up. Hey, but wait, jumping around here, back over to the farm, and what I think I want to do with this thing long term, I was kind of envisioning maybe like a higher up part of the farm as well, like a staircase where that is sitting right now, and yeah, you walk up to the upstairs part of the farm. In the upstairs part of the farm, I think I want to do the whole like activation switch and everything like that. That's all gonna mean basically when I'm said and done, maybe, I don't know, it's gonna just be off center no matter what. Maybe we'll just put it closer to the corner, right there. To make this thing nice and fancy, I think what I want to do for like activation and harvesting of the farm is have a redstone lamp, and then another problem. Frodor, again, you've done it again. How are you always in the way? I hate you, Frodor. With one final round of shack adjusting and redstone laying, we're gonna wire up the back of this observer with the dispensers inside of the farm and the inside. Now after that, back over here on the inside of the build, how could I do this? I could probably just go ahead and tear all this stuff out. I'll like rebuild it somewhere else, more convenient. If I put a staircase right here and I stepped up 1, 2, I need to step up 1 more, that would actually line up perfectly. Then maybe what I could do is a non-automatic farm, maybe just a manual moss farm down here. So like I could make a new basement. Ooh, I like that idea. I actually really like that idea. What if I dug all of this out down here and then swapped the ground out for moss blocks down there? Yeah, that's it. I love it when I'm working on a farm, like any kind of build or whatever, and then I come up with a new idea and just expand the farm and make it even more cool. Yeah, this is perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and dig all of this floor out down here and replace it all with moss. That way, if I want to like maybe harvest even more moss or azalea bushes, but I don't want to use this farm over here, then I could walk down here in a secret side basement and just do things that way. That's so cool. However, tragically, or not so tragically, I ran out of moss. Check this out. If I bone meal this in here, the grass blocks in here, because they are grass blocks, they're just gonna actually go ahead and get converted over to moss. It's an amazing property that this block has. As long as you have the right kind of, as long as you've got the right kind of blocks in here, everything's gonna be converted to moss. Next up, to finish up the machine part of our moss farm, we'll move up top, add a couple fences in here. That'll look pretty nice, and then add a button on this block right here. Now check this out. If I walk over here and go ahead and bone meal all of this stuff, I could walk around in here and break this all by hand and harvest it. But imagine how time consuming and annoying that would be. I would have to punch bush by bush. It would be kind of annoying. With water buckets inside of this dispenser, if I press this button, that's all pulsed out, and then it's picked right back up. And almost everything, like 95% of it, is moved into the hoppers. Like 95% of it. I could actually go ahead and maximize this and make it 100% of it if I were to say take these walls and go ahead and make them a little bit higher. By making the walls higher, I can now walk around in here and still reset easily. I can walk over here, press the button, give it a second, harvest everything, pushes it into the hoppers, and nothing ever, 100% ever, will get spilled up on top. Anytime I need to get any azalea bushes or moss blocks, moss carpet, or heck, even seeds, all I need to do is bone meal this, turn around, press the button right there, and wait. It's easy as that. Minecraft's easiest and best moss farm, voila, there you go. Now the cool thing about this is moss carpets. If I go ahead and take the moss carpet and do this, tragically, I always forget. It's not so cool. You would think that you could take the moss carpet and make a solid block of moss, but no. It's just like carpet. But on the bright side of things, it kind of doesn't matter. With this whole setup down here, anytime I need a little bit more moss blocks, like the proper blocks themselves, I come down here, swap some of this stuff out for, say, like dirt or something I always have extra of, bone meal, and just like that, I get even more blocks. And now when it comes to our farm here being 100% foolproof, every single drop goes into the chest every single time. I mean, yes, I could do that with some solid blocks, but aesthetically, that's what I think I care about a little bit more here. So I want to put some slabs there instead. I think that looks a little bit nicer. Now, all I need to do is make sure I have a solid and consistent source of bone meal, which, oh, wait, consistent source of bone meal, I mean, that's not the greatest thing in the world. A spawner would be better, but I've got it over there all the time. Our all-in-one super-duper mega extreme moss farm is just about set up and basically good to go. All I need to do is fix up the holes in today's build. Yeah, the holes. Alright, so I've been waiting for you to be back and available so I can show off the final big scheme, my final idea for the top of the build that I have today. Remember, keep in mind that I'm trying to build a factory, which means the ceiling is probably going to end up being flat. But if I capped it off like that, it would look really weird, wouldn't it? And so, that's where my little handy idea comes in with the whole factory top of the thing. Over here on this corner, the front corner of the build, I'm going to go ahead and put a mud wall and then a couple more mud walls. I think I'll probably come back in and pull this out, just swap it in for some dark oak. Make it all consistent and dark along the top. See, at first I was thinking about doing some stripped spruce logs in here and match like that part of the build, but it's a bit much. That's like really expensive, so we'll just do it this way. Then what I want to do is do some walls like that, and then maybe some mud slabs right on top of it. We're going to have a bunch of walls and a bunch of mud slabs sticking up on the top of the build. I think maybe, combined with the dark oak planks behind it, this is going to make a really cool and solid looking top part of the factory. Okay, maybe I should just do spruce planks. The dark oak is a little bit random now that I look at it. But that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking exactly, which means it's time for me to go back to mud making 101, and also it's time for me to go back to brick smelting and collecting. I need to finish up by the end of the episode every single one of these walls, and I was thinking about windows on the backside of the build, but I feel like it'll make it feel even more factory-y if I don't have windows everywhere. You know, one thing I gotta say is I love how mud is made. Like, I think it's really cool. The idea of taking the water and, like, you know, combining it with the dirt or whatever. But it also is so tedious. Just like stripped logs, it's kind of annoying to make. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, everything doesn't have to be made inside of a crafting table. A crafting table is kind of lame, in my opinion, but, man, I sure wish there was a faster way to do this, or, like, at least a more automatic way. Like, maybe I'd be able to have dirt underneath the water, or, like, a certain amount of water, maybe shallow water, I don't know. And slowly, eventually, we'll just turn into mud over time. Or, you know what, maybe it could just be flowing water. Maybe the flowing water, like, flows through the dirt block or something, like, realistically speaking. Like, you see all those little spots right there? The flowing water would flow right through it and turn it clean into mud. Even if it's like, say, running right on top. Sounds like I'm hired, Mojang. Thanks for the job. Oh, and how could I? How dare I? I almost forgot to explain this whole basalt thing on the side of the build here. What I was thinking is maybe I'll have like these random basalt pillars sticking up out of the side of the build. Maybe like try and double them up in some spots, like unevenly, a little bit randomly and like say naturally or something. I have them go up, maybe curve them a little bit more and basically make them into giant smokestacks. After all, I mean, logically speaking, moss, a very calm, cool, natural block. Yeah, it would be smoking while I'm making the mud. All right, just don't think about it too much. It'll be cool looking, I promise. And so here we are, after a whole lot of red water, sweat, tears, determination, building ideas, brainstorming, and even more building, we've finally done it. The very finale of today's build is, of course, none other than the very top of the factory, the ceiling. The last thing that I need to do is cover the entire top of this build with sweet jungle slabs. Why jungle? Well, of course, it kind of matches the granite, but also, I had to tear down an ancient jungle tree that I left standing for like 20, 30 episodes here to actually build this build today. With such a tall, strong, sturdy, wise tree, it is only fair to the tree itself that I repurpose it and turn it back to the build itself. Up on top of the build itself, I went crazy. I did these cool little pillars with like, we got the basalt, we got the cobblestone right there. It's almost like a smokestack for, you know, of course, like I mentioned, making the moss. There's a lot of smoke that happens. Up on top of the build to finish it off, I did iron bars as well. I feel like I had captured the whole like modern feel and idea, goal, spirit, you know, whatever. Over on the inside of the build, it is very plain looking, but I do have one huge idea for the ceiling. So let's see, how do I want to do this? Maybe what I could do is line it up with like that right there, and I could do two of them inside of this build. And sure, valid, it'll look a little strange looking because, well, it is strange. It's built out of weird blocks, but how about some fancy giant factory hanging lights up at the top of this build? I think that's the perfect way to finish it all off. I'm happy with it. For today's build, I feel like I exactly captured the initial stated goal of some kind of like super modern industrial feeling factory. It's got the cool machine in here that works just seamlessly and flawlessly. Anytime I need these beautiful azaleas for decorating, maybe detailing, not a problem. We also, of course, built in this beautiful basement area that I came in and detailed and cleaned up a little bit. Going forward, anytime I need the proper moss block, it's not a problem. With a little bit of bone meal and a little bit of time, I can go ahead and grow the moss blocks right down here. Up top over here, what I'm thinking is carpets. 100%, I need to get some carpet situations going on and like come back into this build and a couple other builds and get carpets. I absolutely love the idea of them. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a bed in here so I can sleep whenever. And then actually for the door, I'm not gonna put anything. I think it'll be fine just to leave it wide open. Over here, finally, I accomplished something I needed to for a long time. I came back in and put the lanterns that I said I was going to put on the build as soon as I built the iron farm, but it just took a little bit longer than expected. Did it on the front too. Over here for a road, I went ahead and made this path. I think I definitely need to like maybe do a big staircase down or something over here. I don't know quite yet, but for now it's fine. I went ahead and went all the way along the front of the factory and then turned it. For now, I did a tiny bit of terraforming with some bushes right over here. Later on, once I build this area up more, I'll come back in and do something else, probably. Now the sweet, beautiful build, I had to take a look at it after I finished it, and it is solid looking. I'm so happy with how this build has turned out today. Walking around in here and looking at it, it complements this one really, really nicely too. The tones are pretty similar. One of my favorite views of the build that I found so far, though, was over here in this area that we did last episode. It can kind of you can kind of see it peeking up in between there, and then if you walk over here, oh, it's big, it's a factory, it's fully finished, and it's just so cool looking. I like this whole modern build style. I think I'm gonna have to try and maybe almost make a couple more factories over there, industrial zone or something like that, and just fill it in even more. This was really fun to build today. Look at that thing. It's a Titan. Oh, and this wall, I terraformed it a little bit. It could use more, but I mean, hey, it's a start. The Moss Farm, the Mossinator 3000, I don't know, maybe that's what I'll call it forever. There we go, super simple, and in my opinion, super beautiful too. Yet another farm, yet another build that fills up our world even more. Sincerely, thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you enjoyed it and you haven't yet, consider tapping like, it helps it out a huge time, and subscribe if you're new here. In between episodes, I know what I'll be doing. This iron farm, it keeps clogging up. It's so good and productive. I need to create proper overflow storage, so I'm going to do that. Patrons get early access to the episodes. Channel members, world downloads. One's coming up in a couple episodes. Tap join for more. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, it's been me, Waddles. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.